Of Jacob and his twin brother Esau. And though we focused on Jacob's steadfast faith in God's power to bring blessing and Jacob's willingness to wrestle with God until that blessing became evident, we also noticed at times that Jacob was kind of a rotten guy. When Esau is barely hanging on to his life, Jacob takes advantage of him to acquire his birthright, and then when his father Isaac is blind and ready to die, he lies to him, posing as Esau in order to receive Esau's blessing. But if you think Jacob is bad, wait until you meet his sons. So Jacob has 12 sons through 4 women, 6 with Leah, 2 from Rachel, 2 from Rachel's maid Bilhah, and 2 from Leah's maid Zilpah. When God blessed Jacob last week, Jacob was told that he would now be called Israel. And these sons are the beginning of the 12 tribes of Israel. And one of the reasons for this story is to get us into Egypt and to explain to us how the nation of Israel gets into slavery in Egypt in the first place, setting up the book of Exodus. Well, the story of Jacob and his sons starts by telling us that Jacob, as a father, plays favorites, which is never a good idea. It's the main reason that therapists are in business at all. And Jacob's first love is Rachel. He always loved her more than Leah. It's sad, but it's true. And Rachel's firstborn is Joseph, given to Jacob in his old age. So it makes sense that Joseph would be Jacob's favorite. Jacob expressed his favoritism by giving Joseph special presents and by having special clothes made for him, like a nice robe with lots of colors and long sleeves. The robe is a symbol of the love that Joseph has that the other brothers don't, and the other brothers hate him for it. And we're also told early in the story that Joseph isn't the easiest brother to get along with. He's kind of a tattletale. He's out helping the sons of Jacob's wives, Zilpah and Bilhah, shepherd the sheep, and he brings a bad report back to his father. Hey, Dad, I hate to tell you this, but Dan and Naphtali and Gad and Asher, well, they're not really watching the sheep. When night comes, they just go into town and they party all night long, and then they come back and they sleep it off during the day, and the sheep are just going all over the place. Now, it's a really good thing that you have me to tell you this. Dad, I'm the only one you can trust, Joseph says as he straightens out his robe. And then Joseph starts having these dreams. And not only does he have the dreams, he tells his brothers about the dreams. Hey guys, listen to this dream I had last night. So we're out in the field, we're gathering up the sheaves, right? And then my sheaf stands up straight and tall. And your sheaves all bow down to mine. Now, what do you think that means? Joseph says as he straightens out his robe. Well, one day the brothers are out watching the sheep, doing a bad job, no doubt. And Jacob sends Joseph out to watch them and bring back a report. Tell me how they're doing out there, Joseph. So Joseph goes out, and the brothers see him coming from a long ways away, and they say, well, here comes the dreamer. Let's kill him. We'll just throw him into a pit, throw a little dirt on him. No one will know the difference. We'll say a wild animal got him. And Reuben says, hey, wait a minute, we can't kill him. Now, we can rough him up a little bit. He deserves that. I'll say that to you. That's the truth. But no blood here, okay? And so that's what they do. When Joseph comes, they beat him, tear off his robe, and throw him in the pit. And then, while Joseph's stuck in the pit, the other brothers go up and have some lunch. And then some Ishmaelites come by. And Judah has a bright idea. He says, what would it profit us if we kill Joseph? Let's sell him and split the money. I mean, he's our brother after all. We can't harm him. That wouldn't be a good thing to do. But we can sell him and get a little coin. And so that's what they do. They sell him to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And then the cover-up begins. They kill a goat, dip the robe in the goat's blood, and then they take it back to Jacob. Jacob sees it, weeps, believing that his brother Joseph, or his son Joseph, is dead, been killed by a wild animal. Now in the story, Reuben shows a little remorse, but none of the other brothers do at all. They just stand there by their father who's weeping over the bloody robe, staying on message through all the questions of how it happened, telling their father one bald-faced lie after another. This is sin at its worst, the most callous and coldest evil. What can God possibly do with this. Well, the story continues. Joseph's sold into slavery in Egypt. Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, buys him. But God is with Joseph, we're told. And everything Joseph does turns up roses. Potiphar soon learns that if anything Joseph is placed in charge of has not only his care, but God's care too. If Joseph is in charge of the crops, they have a wonderful yield. If Joseph is in charge of the investments, they double. So Potiphar puts anything he can think of in Joseph's care. And this is beyond where we read today, even without his Technicolor dream coat, Joseph still has some sex appeal, apparently, because his master's wife is attracted to him, and she wants him to lie with her. Joseph, being a righteous man of God, refuses her advances repeatedly until one day she grabs a hold of his robe, and Joseph runs off and leaves his robe behind. Poor guy, first robe was stripped off him by his brothers, and the second one, he's losing that robe too. But to get back at Joseph, Potiphar's wife yells for help and tells everyone that Joseph tried to assault her, and she yelled, and he ran and left his robe as evidence, and this gets him thrown in jail. But don't worry, because God's with him. In jail, he finds a way to land on his feet too. He becomes famous for interpreting dreams, so famous that Pharaoh himself calls Joseph in to interpret dreams for him. Pharaoh's had dreams about a famine that will come and hit the land for 7 years. And Joseph explained it to him and saying, this is an opportunity for Egypt. If you plan now, you can be the land that has all the grain that all the other nations have to come to. And Pharaoh likes this. He likes it so much, in fact, that he places Joseph in charge of everything. Joseph is now the second most powerful man in all of Egypt. Second only to Pharaoh. Now you can't keep this guy Joseph down. Well, when the famine comes, Joseph is in charge of giving out the grain, and once you know it, the famine is affecting Jacob's family too. He learns that there's grain in Egypt, and he sends 10 of his sons down to Egypt to get grain. He keeps Benjamin, the second son of Rachel, his new favorite, by his side. Well, the brothers go down to Egypt. They come face to face with Joseph, and they ask him for grain. Joseph recognizes them immediately, but they don't recognize him. He treats them harshly. Hard to blame him for that. He asks them questions about their father and the family. And he finds out that his father is still alive, and the youngest brother, Benjamin, is still at home. Joseph then accuses them of being spies, throws them in jail for 3 days. At the end of the 3 days, he fills their sacks with grain and says, I'll let you return home if you keep one of your brothers here, and I'll release that brother when you bring the youngest, Benjamin, back to me. Now here, for the first time, we see that Joseph's brothers are indeed human. They have been carrying guilt and remorse with them all these years. They say to one another, alas, we are paying the penalty for what we did to our brother. We saw his anguish when he pleaded with us, but we would not listen. What a powerful line. We saw his anguish when he pleaded with us in the pit, but we would not listen. That is why this anguish is coming upon us. And Reuben says, I told you not to harm the boy, but now there comes a reckoning for his blood. And Joseph is right there the whole time. They don't think he can understand them because they've been speaking through an interpreter, but he hears every word, and he has to turn to hide his tears. He composes